Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. We're going to be discussing Congo and the African Power Achievement. For this achievement, we're going to need to own the whole of Africa, including the isolated islands off the main African continent, such as St. Helena and the Comoros Islands, which are nearby to Madagascar. According to the wiki, this achievement is down as a very hard achievement. I'm not sure if I would agree with that. I would say the start is somewhat hard, depending on how fast you are. Growing and expanding will determine how easy of a campaign this turns out to be. There's two main challenges, I would say, with this achievement, and the first one is the race against the Ottoman Empire. If you're fast enough to cut the Ottomans out of Africa, you've made your game a lot easier. If you allow them to push too far into Africa, so they control the majority of North Africa, it's going to be more difficult. You've got less room to grow, and the Ottomans are going to be a very big Otto blob, let's put it that way. So it's going to be more of a challenge to get them out of Africa. It's going to be multiple wars, as opposed to just blocking them off or having to fight for 4 or 5 provinces, which makes the main difference. The second main challenge to this achievement is stopping Europe. They will colonise Africa. It doesn't matter how fast you colonise, they still will arrive. Whether it's in the Cape, whether it's in the West Africa, or the odd island here or there, you're going to have to deal with Portugal, Spain, France, probably Britain as well. That being said, depending on how the run goes, you should get large enough that you can leave them for last, I would recommend. By then you should have the majority of the rest of Africa, and you've probably dealt with the Ottoman Empire as well. At that point you should probably be number 1 great power, and you could even threaten for that land or just easily crush them. So before we dive on in and look at Congo as a nation and their ideas, I just wanted to touch up on the religion side of things. Africa as a whole is divided up between fetishists and Sunni Muslims, as Congo will have a main choice of 3 when it comes to religions. The first choice being we can remain as a fetishist nation, in the fact that we're quite tolerant towards heretics. We might be able to conquer more land with a little bit less unrest as opposed to other religions. The religion itself is not particularly strong. There's a few bonuses and there's also a few achievements to be had if we remain fetishist, but it's one of the weaker choices. It's completely down to you if you want to remain a fetishist nation, however. The second choice would be to be converting to a Sunni Muslim. Sunni is probably one of the stronger religions in the game, with a few good modifiers, whether you want core creation cost, money, or a few other things, inviting scholars from other nations and whatnot. It may allow you to grab some additional alliances in Arabia and even the Ottomans, though you will eventually need to fight the Ottomans unless you're extremely fast and can lock them out of Africa. The third choice would be convert to a Catholic. It's kind of a double-edged sword in the fact that it has bonuses and negatives. The bonuses would be you'll probably be able to grab some European alliances. You might be able to pick up the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, the colonisers that come to Africa. You might be able to ally them and get them to help you with your battles in Africa. The downside being you will eventually have to fight them. The other bonus for being a Catholic is that you can pick up religious ideas, and being the only Catholic nation in Africa, you will be able to have a CD on every other neighbouring province. The downside to being a Catholic is you will be the only Catholic in Africa pretty much, and everyone will hate you. The aggressive expansion will ramp up faster. So it's a blessing and a curse. The choice is completely down to you and won't change the outcome too much of your game. And the final thing I wanted to cover before we discuss the opening moves and the overall strategy for Congo is its national ideas. So starting off, we get a tradition of trade efficiency plus 10%. And minus 20% land attrition. The trade efficiency, again, is free money, effectively. Land attrition, we're normally not that great in Africa. It is quite good. We don't have much manpower. Nowhere in Africa does. We start with 9,500, if I remember correctly. And that goes fast, very fast when you're sieging in Africa. It's not uncommon to have 2, 3, 4% attrition per month. 20% less attrition will add up fast and potentially win you wars down the line. And then the next idea is national tax modifier plus 10%. Again, free money, you can't complain with that. The chance of a new heir, you never really notice it. I suppose it is a small bonus, but it's quite a weak idea itself. Minus 10% military technology cost, quite strong. The +1 diplomatic reputation is always good. Minus 25% envoy travel time, normally pretty terrible. In Africa it's not so bad in the fact that if I was to send a diplomat to the Mamluks, for example, it would take about 30-35 days for this diplomat to return, because Africa is such a huge continent. So getting your diplomats back a week or two faster can help speed things up in the long run. But all in all, it's just a very small quality of life bonus. The triangle trade, plus 10% provincial trade power modifier. Again, extra money, you can never really complain. Nothing too strong, nothing weak. It's just a nice little bonus to have. It does come with plus 5% infantry combat ability. Again, nothing strong or game breaking there. However, it is nice to have a little bonus military idea thrown in. Plus 10% production efficiency. Once again, we get an idea that gives us a bit of extra money. And just touching up on one thing alongside all the other money related ideas such as the tax and trade and production, this will kind of offset the inflation from gold. Gold inflation will increase, but the fact that there is so many gold mines in Africa, inflation can be reduced by making money by other means, as gold is how much of your economy relies upon the gold mines, is how fast the inflation will incur. So if we're getting plus 10% tax, plus 10% production, plus 10% trade, we're also lowering the inflation, which is somewhat a blessing in disguise. The next idea, quite a big one, plus 5% discipline. This will win battles and probably wars in the long run. The final idea is plus 30% improved relations. Not too much of a bonus, however, it's better than something weaker, such as the stability cost modifier. Now we're going to talk about the opening moves for Kongo and how we can get into a position where we can really push on and get the achievement. So, 3 phases I would break down Kongo in. The first phase takes part in the first 30-40 years of the game, depending on how fast you are, which is the unification phase, I like to call it. Second phase, I like to call the colonial phase, where we're going to start colonising and getting coastlines in various parts of Africa and key points, which I'll touch upon. And that will bring us on to the third phase, which is the snowball phase, as I like to call it. But moving on to the first phase, which, as I say, takes part in the first 30-40 years, we're going to forget that Africa exists other than this section here. We want to unify our home region with our home cultures. So we're not going to develop, we're not going to mess around too much, try and be clever. We're just purely going to go to war as fast as we can. I personally would grab 1 ally to help you. You start with 2 vassals. For example, Lunda is normally a good ally to pick because they border so many countries, they will want loads of land themselves. So they'll probably want to join you for the promise of land against Yaka, Kasanje, Kuba, for example. You can call them into numerous wars for the promise of land, but not actually give them land. So if we move on forward with the strategy, I wonder how many years. So there we are. After 4 or 5 years, I literally went to war straight away and I annexed 2 countries. We're going to be as brutal as we can. We don't mind about spending Diplo points for taking what's not the war goal. We just want to expand as fast as we can. Again, straight into another war. As soon as we won that, we're back into these 2 wars, kicking these 2 nations out. At this point, I'm just letting the manpower replenish. I think I'm straight back into another war. So any year now, we should see another nation pop out. So Lunda is my ally at this point, and I think after these 2 wars, they were unhappy, so I'll kick them out. So we got rid of Kuba, I believe, was there, and now we're just left with Lunda and Luba. I do go to war with Luba at this point to stop them from being the only competition in my home region, and I end up actually vassalising them. So there falls Lunda to us. And I believe they were an ally of Lunda, so we pieced them out of that war deal. And now we're in a 1v1 fight against Luba, well, with my vassal helping. So we should completely cut them into three, and there we are. So I'll release this nation, and Luba's been split into three, so they are completely removed. I believe I'd later go on to offer Luba vassalisation, which we then do. So after 40 years, we can safely say this region is unified. Yeah, we've got a few nations here, but we end up vassalising this region. You can just carry on yourself, but at this point, 40 years, I thought I've got a nice base, I've got a nice stable economy, let's push on from here. So in 1484, at this point we need to adopt feudalism and we need to catch up with the Renaissance. So I spent the next 10 years or so double developing. Developing this capital province is probably the best province to do it in. It's got the best land to develop. You can go with your coastlines to try and increase your chance of getting colonialism to spawn on you. But I'd prefer just to spend less money points. So we start developing our capital here. And once we eventually catch up with the feudalism and the Renaissance, we grab colonialism for our first idea. And as you can see, the focus is, as soon as you grab colonialism, we're a bit late to get it. We have a chance of spawning colonialism. In this particular game, we don't. But first things first, forget about the south and the east of Africa. We want to move up to the west coast. I did grab this island, and I did grab this here to allow me to get in. We don't want to prioritise the trade zones. We purely want to border a country for an access route to invade into the country. We're never going to compete with the Europe that will come to colonise. We purely want to be able to get claims to then push into New Pay, and then from there we can go on to attack everyone. So I believe we go straight to war with New Pay and try and steal some coastlines before colonialism spawns, which I believe was in 1501. We didn't spawn it because we didn't get the coastlines we needed. It's hard to compete with Castile and Portugal. If you get it, it's a big bonus. If you don't, it doesn't affect too much. You'll just have to eventually catch up with developing once more. Not too big of an issue. You will be doing that a lot this game. So I think at this point, yeah, we start to invade and grabbing more coastlines. Don't worry about the border gore too much. Don't try and make nice clean borders and go with states. We purely want to border as many countries as we can. So while we've got a 10-year peace deal with New Pay, for example, we can now go straight to war with Ashanti. And we could even ally other nations that maybe Messina wants the promise of land against Genet, and we can call them in. Maybe we can call Mali in to help attacking all the nations that we can. So we'll keep on aggressively expanding. And one thing you'll have to do, so as I say, West Africa is the immediate focus. But as you start conquering land and pushing in aggressively, you will start to get aggressive expansion in this region. We don't want coalitions to form, it's just going to slow us down too much. So as you notice the AE getting too high, maybe you can't take any more land without annoying every single other nation, we'll hop down to the east coast of Africa. As you can see, I've already landed at the Cape, which is a good one to get. I'm not going to try and tidy all this up. I'm purely going to try and get bordered with Kilwa, so I can start to invade this region as well as Madagascar. So while the AE is calling down over here, we're over here, invading here. We won't get any AE in West Africa while we're invading Marawi and Kilwa. So let's speed forward on the time. So like I said about the borders, we bordered them purely so we can attack them. Now I've got borders with Genet and Timbuktu. Maybe you can grab some allies to attack them. But while the AE is rising, and we're looking like we're going to attract a coalition, we move down to Kilwa. Once we eventually get there, once we can reach there, that is. I've grabbed another coastline. My plan is here to stop the Europeans from chartering a nation on the coast. We're not going to stop them from colonising, but we can try and attempt to stop them from buying a province off Jolof, which eventually will happen. So we're pushing further in, and now we've got the border. we've got the border with Kilwa now, so this is the perfect chance for us to push into East Africa while we wait for the AE to cool down here. So let's push on forward, and there we are. So as I say, we've got some nice gains over here, so let's push over here. We are going to start working towards the gold mines, which will really fund our economy, and we've even took a little foothold in Madagascar where we can go on and take all of this. I believe I do eventually make a vassal here, but it's up to you. I've stolen some coastlines here. Again, the border gore looks a bit messy. However, we don't care about clean borders. The reason we did this is so now we border Maravi, we border Kilwa, we border these guys over here, and now we even border Malindi. So while we've got a peace deal with Maravi, while we've got a peace deal with Kilwa, we don't have a peace deal with Malindi. If we wanted to, we could attack them straight away, and then we could border Ajuran, Warsangali. Forget about the border gore, we're going to be taking it all eventually. You don't want to waste time waiting for peace deals. Try and border as many nations as you can. So let's move on forward and see what our next move was. I think we're pushing further into Mali, stealing gold mines. And as I say, gold mines, we're pushing into Maravi, stealing more here. Just a quick note, again, I still haven't Luba on my vassal at this stage. So I'm in no rush to get rid of them. These here is a bit of a waste of time fighting these nations. They're completely landlocked in. They're surrounded by wasteland. They're not leaving. They're not going to get big enough to be a threat. The Ottomans are a threat. As you can see, they've now reached Africa. There's no point wasting 5 years fighting all these guys. We just purely want to get as close to the Ottomans as we can in the time being. So let's carry on. Just a quick note that I've noticed over here. As soon as I've noticed France buy a province of Jollof, I've made it my target to completely landlock them in. The last thing I want is France to buy a province and then eat Mali, and then I've got 10 French provinces that I need to go through a tough war to get. Taking one province off them is doable, because I don't think they'll be able to land that many troops here. So if you see, for example with Castile, there's not much we can do, this is colonial land. If you see a European nation buy a province, try and lock them in so they can't expand from that. That's a big thing that can change the game for you. I believe we go on to eat more of Eastern Europe while everyone hates up here. Yes, as we can see, I think I've grabbed some allies in Timbuktu. Once we remove all these guys, we can push north into Tunis, and as I say, Malindi is now gone. Now we border Warsangali. We've eaten majority of Madagascar. Castile has landed here. We've got rid of Mali. The odd province isn't going to be hard to get rid of them. Taking a fight with Castile would be tough, but it's just one province. We can sit on that war goal and get that one province. There's not much they can do to stop us. Yeah, they can land loads of troops, but if we sit on the war goal, we can take a one province in a peace deal easily. So all we're going to do now is push up against Warsangali, try and eat as much of this. The Ottomans will probably get to around here. But once we scoop all of that, once we take all of that and take this here, and then eventually when we push against Tunis, we'll probably be just as strong as the Ottomans, if not stronger. Yes, you may need to get some allies to come to help you, but it's an even fight, I would say. You could wait until the Ottomans get into a big war to then go on and fight them. At this stage, we know the Ottomans aren't going to push into North Africa much more, because they have allied Tunis. So we know they're only going to push south, pretty much. So once we remove Timbuktu, for example, and we colonise here, and we've got borders with Tunis, how can we attack Tunis when they're allied to the Ottomans? That's a big, scary alliance network. We just go through proxy wars. So Tunis is allied to Sus. Sus only have Tunis as a rival. Attack Sus. Tunis will call in. We would beat both of them together. We might even be able to fashion an alliance with Castile or Aragon, get them to help, but not give them land. Now Tunis is severely weakened, and then vice versa. So in this example, Warsangali has allied the Ottomans. We don't want to attack Warsangali and call the Ottomans in when we're not ready. Warsangali have allied Mara and Yemen. Maybe we can get claims on Mara or Yemen, or even no CB them. Call in Warsangali, remove these guys, and I believe at this point we're 8th great power. So we've got the manpower, we've got the money. And this is the snowball stage. We've colonised to get the provinces where we need them, to get claims. At this stage, it's snowball stage. Mali can't stop us, Timbuktu can't stop us, Kanem-Bornu can't stop us, no one can stop us, apart from possibly the Ottomans. And now it's just a race against time, but at this stage, it'll be difficult for you to lose, unless you lose the war against the Ottomans. Europe will come knocking, but once the Ottomans are dealt with, you'll be possibly in the top 2, top 3, top powers, great powers, and at that point no one can stop you. So that's my opening strategy for African power. If you have any questions or you need anything explained in more detail, or you want to see me continue this video and push on to the end, which I'll do, I'll be uploading the final gameplay footage, I suppose, at a later date. But any questions in the meantime, let me know and I'll try and help you out any way I can. But thank you for watching, guys. Do appreciate it. More videos coming soon, and I wish you well. Take care.